Good afternoon to all and a warm welcome. My name is Teddy. I hope to enlighten you with my video as I hope to be enlightened by others. That's one thing that I feel this class has really done for me is everyone sharing their ideas and their different backgrounds have truly impacted me personally and professionally. Um, Speaking of professionally, I found Britta's readings very interesting and very impactful, is specifically the tips for teachers as they facilitate deep listening and conversation about privilege, excuse me. Number three, which reads, model our own processes of unlearning privilege in whatever area of our identity we might have privilege. Share the mistakes, the denials, and the successes. I think that's very powerful because if we are to educate and we want to engage students in these conversations, I think that we have to first and most importantly humble ourselves and share those mistakes and show our openness. I think that as educators and student service professionals, I think that when a student is able to view that humble side of an individual and that openness, that makes the individual a lot more approachable and easier to talk to. That openness facilitates the conversation, these difficult conversations, whether it be about race or cultural identity or gender identity. Um, I feel somewhat privileged in, in the class because as a faculty member, I do have those awkward or powerful conversations. We get a vast, diverse variety of students here who struggle with those gender identity. I've had one student who was a male African American, gay. I'm sorry, and his concern was, will I be accepted in the medical field in this industry of respiratory therapy, or will I be seen differently? And I assured him that no, the medical field is probably one of the areas where race or culture or ethnicity, yes, it does exist, but in the moment of an emergency situation where you're trying to save a life, all that is placed aside, and at that point, you're treating an individual. Uh, the only thing that's at stake here is saving that person. And I think that in healthcare, that's one advantage that we have. Uh, I've had other people from international students who wondered, am I going to be looked upon differently because I'm not American? I'm like, no. Again, when it comes down to that one individual trying to be saved, that is all that's on that other individual's mind is who's going to help me. So again, I think that when we have these conversations in the classroom, which we do have them, because those are the questions that I get asked. That's probably one of the top questions that I'm always asked is, have I ever experienced racism? And I have, just depending on the situation. But I do know that when it was an emergency situation, all that was set aside, or that was not at the forefront. Um, in listening to Mr. Isay, I get the point of listening in that manner. And again, I think his message and what he contributes to us is that we must be humble. We have to humble ourselves and listen. People want to be heard. They want to convey their message, whether it's deep or superficial. Nonetheless, they want to be heard. And I think that if we show compassion, and again, I reiterate being humble, I think that allows the transition for a person to be able to speak and to share their concerns or share what they want to share with the world or with you as an individual. But what it boils down to is that we as a society need to make a change. Uh, Here we are in the 21st century and still dealing with oppression, racism, something that just we should be so far beyond that it almost seems like this nation is taking backward steps instead of going forward. Um, there was a quote in our readings regarding racism. I'm not going to read it to you. It's on page 98. Racism, even if it is not your own, but merely circulates in the air, changes you. It allows you to things and feel things. I'm sure everyone's read it, so I'm not going to continue reading it because we go on a time limit. But the minute I saw that, it made me reflect on something. And the reflection was, here we are again in the 21st century and still dealing with what our forefathers dealt with the Civil War. And it immediately brought me to a quote that I felt was powerful to me, made by Abraham Lincoln, one of the greatest presidents of the United States. And here, I'll show you what it reads. In case I moved it too fast or didn't leave it up enough, it reads, America will never be destroyed from the outside. If we falter and lose our freedoms, it will be because we destroyed ourselves. And that destruction is due to racism, oppression, feeling privileged. And it is something that we, as professionals, we need to educate others and try to make a difference. As I said in a previous video, if I'm able to impact one person, I would hope that would create a chain of going forward, and that allow that person to impact someone else, and so on and so on. Well, I know we have a time limit. I hope I haven't gone over, and I wish everyone a great weekend, and I'm looking forward to everyone else's thoughts and insights. Thank you.